Hi there. It's August the 15th, and we're continuing our progress through the book of Nehemiah, and we're completing chapter 9 from 9:22, and the whole of chapter 10. Now, we saw yesterday that the people have gathered together to hear the reading of the law, and they've been encouraged that the joy of the Lord is their strength. But as they're reading, they're realizing that there's a repentance to be made. And we saw yesterday this tremendous blessing that the priests speak out, this blessing of God, speaking his praise. But actually, they're also incorporating in that the rehearsal of the failure of the people to keep covenant with God. And so this balance of chapter 9 from 22 on kind of follows the story of Israel through right up to the time of the exile. And it culminates in this terrible confession, or this terrible cry to God in verse 37 of chapter 9. God, we are slaves. We are enslaved. The good things in this land that you gave us, you said that we were to have, are actually going to the king, and he's benefiting from it because we are still in exile in a sense. And it says at the end of chapter 9, and in fact in Hebrew it's at the beginning of chapter 10 in the Hebrew version. It says that they made a covenant before God, because they see that the answer to this this malaise, this terrible situation, is to come back to God and to make covenant with him. And at the beginning of chapter 10, there's a whole long list of names, of signatories, as it were, to this covenant, of the leaders of Israel and the people, and saying, God, we're coming back to you. We're renewing the covenant. And then the latter part of chapter 10 is seeing all of the things put back in place which bring them into covenant, the covenant behavior of a people committed to following God. And so there are things like the feasts and the festivals, the Sabbaths, the worship of God in the temple, the bringing in of offerings, the tithes, all of those things, the support of the Levites, the ministry, and those things which show that the people are serious about seeing their fortunes restored. You know, so often it happens in the scriptures that when people are not walking with God, when they walk away from him, his hand of blessing is withdrawn. But when they turn again to him and they confess what's really going on, they don't try and hide it, but they confess, then God brings a restoration. And here in the time of Nehemiah and Ezra, we see that God is restoring something to the people, something lost, because they take time to come back to him. We constantly need to be examining our own hearts and our own communities to ensure that we are walking with the Lord in that clearness of heart, so that we experience the fullness of his blessing and not just half the blessing that could be ours. Because when we come to him fully and walk with him fully, we experience more of the richness of what he brings us. Have a very good August the 15th.